Hey, you wild thing. Okay, today I'm going to talk about a maybe sensitive topic to some. And I giggle because I want to share with you some of the conversations that my husband and I are having with our kids that might not be conventional. And I know there's a lot of people that have, previously passed judgment about our parenting because you can just never get it right for some people. Um, but also how we're setting our kids up for the future. One thing that we're doing, that we're already started doing, which I'm excited to talk about, is what we're going to be doing for world schooling. We're going to put a pin in that. But I want to premise this episode with this is that this is what works for us, and it's not necessarily going to work for you. These are our values and our beliefs. So if you don't agree with some of these things, that's totally fine. All I ask is that you just respect that. And know that we're doing our best and we do want to provide a better opportunity for our children that is quite different than what some parents might be doing to position their kids as, ready for the future, so to speak, for lack of a better word. So today, I'm going to tell you about some of the conversations we're having with our almost 12 and 13-year-old boys about money, about friendship, about work, about dreams, about motivation. So if you're with me, then pay attention. These were also lessons for us. So it's not like these things were just, oh, this was a great ChatGPT result and this is how we're going to parent our kids. We created these mindsets and these standards based on what we believe is going to help them be great adults. Like the advancement in technologies and the changing of the dynamics of what it means to be a human is going so fast that we didn't even have this data in the past to even comprehend what our work life is going to be like in the next year, 5 years, 10 years. And so based on what we know now, we are trying to set our kids up for the most fruitful, healthy, exciting, playful adult life that they can possibly have. And the first thing that I want to talk about and start with is often the hardest one is money and how we use money, not as the goal, but as a tool, right? One piece, I guess, some of the wisdom that came back from my event, from the Pink Skirt Project, was how some women felt like the energy that I brought to the room gave them permission to want to be rich, want to be healthy. And we think that wealth and richness comes from having fancy cars, a beautiful home, fancy trips. And yeah, I do believe that it is that. But the richness and wealth of life is really about creating impact and giving back. And you can't give back financially. You can't have as big of an impact if you truly, genuinely believe that having a lot of nice things and having money in the bank is greedy. Because the moment you associate wanting to have nice things and wanting to make more money with greed is the moment that you're learning to not attract abundance. And we want our kids to know that having nice things are great as long as you're earning them, right? Like our mentality in our house, as we tell this boys all the time, is that we're rich, you're not. And you still have to learn the lessons on how to create wealth because we're not going to hand it all over. That's like they know this generationally, that the third generation that receives the handouts from the wealth of the previous generations ends up being the one that kind of restarts the process for them. If you're not actually teaching your kids how to create the value, then they're going to just lose it. They're going to think that this is just how life is. Everything gets delivered to them. They have all these people working for them and they don't have to lift a finger. But also the most important thing in this lesson for them is understanding the energy between being broke and being cheap. So the difference between them is, like, as we know, money is energy and it flows where it's valued. Is being broke is really about a situation. You don't have money or you're in debt and now you have to get out of it regardless of your mindset. Being cheap is a mindset. See, being broke, you can still be generous, but when you're cheap, you might not be. Being broke could be about you want to be healthy and or wealthy and you want to attract this abundance, but your situation is just not allowing for it, you can still have a positive mindset around money, regardless of your current situation. Being broke is often temporary if you choose it to be, but being cheap is a choice. I was at a restaurant the other day with my kids. Actually, no, it was my son was ordering DoorDash for dinner and he had my phone because I was driving. And he goes, Mama, how much tip do we leave? And we usually leave like 5, 10, 12, 20 bucks sometimes. He's like, that's a lot of money. And I said, yeah, but I genuinely believe that if we're already tipping that much, that the person deserves it. And he brought up one time, because we live in a gated community. He brought up a moment when the delivery person did not know how to access us to open the gate to bring the food to our house, because it's not like it's just on the other side of like the gate. It's a community. So there's like a whole neighborhood that you'd have to drive through to get to the gate. And they tried calling the directory. They tried calling to teach them how to use the directory so that I can open the gate, because I can only open the gate from my phone if they use the directory. Before I knew it, I get a text message from DoorDash saying your food's been delivered. They gave up. They just put the food down at the gate, took a picture and said it's been delivered. You have to understand, there's like 50 plus homes in our community. And there was the food at the bottom of the gate. And because in DoorDash, the way that it works with the app is you already provide the tip. So he remembers, Renee or Mama, remember that one time that you gave them the tip and they didn't deliver the food? And I said, fair enough. But do you think that's going to be every circumstance, every situation, every person? No. I actually genuinely believe that everyone has their best interest at heart, our best interest of getting our food warm into our house on time. So anyways, we put the tip because that's the abundance. When you're like, they deserve this tip. Sure enough, the person who delivered our food that evening was happy and excited and loved the view and was so kind and charismatic. Yes, they deserve it. So we can't, and this is what we're teaching them, is the tool is that you can't just hinge a terrible previous outcome on how you're going to treat other people going forward because you're cheap. You're not. Money is a tool. It's a mindset. It's an energy. You attract it. Yes, you have to do the work to earn it, but you need the mindset to attract it, that you deserve it, and that by giving tips at like 20 to 30% sometimes, that person also deserves it. This goes down to the abundance versus scarcity mindset. You know, the thing you say you can't afford it. It's actually toxic language. Sure, there are things you can't afford. I can't afford $1 million watch. I can't afford a $500 million yacht, but man, that would be kind of cool to have. But instead of saying I can't afford it, just say this isn't within reach yet. The word yet is how you change your mindset. I haven't been able to lose that 10 pounds yet, because when you throw yet behind it, it gives you the motivation and the inspiration to actually and know that you can achieve it. So you can say something like, instead of we can't afford it, you can say that's not a priority right now. Or how can we make this happen? So when we teach our kids this, you give them the opportunities instead of understanding things as obstacles. Not everything is an obstacle. Yes, we're going to be faced with obstacles all the time, but you have to know that there's possibility in everything. I would love to know of any story that you've had where you've taught your kid the difference between abundance and scarcity mindset. Hit me up on Instagram, Renee_Warren. The other thing that might not surprise you is early entrepreneurship lessons. My kids have started lemonade stands. They've started bracelet companies. They've dabbled in the idea of how to earn money outside of getting paid for chores. By the way, on that note, is the chores. We used to do this for a little bit, but we don't do it anymore. We don't pay our kids to do the basics around the house that they should be doing anyway. Like if they're living here for free, then we believe we don't need to be paying them for their chores. In order for them to earn the money for something that they want, if it's expensive, then they have to earn the money themselves. This is by way through maybe getting gifts from people or starting a lemonade stand, whatever it is, and we'll support them. If there's something that they really want in life outside of a birthday, we have them pay 50% and then we'll pay the rest. Here's what happens in these moments, because you could be a parent that just buys the stuff, gives it to them, and there's no repercussions or there's no expectations of them contributing, is they get used to that. Then they get lazy and it's really hard to unbreak or to break that cycle. But more importantly, and you'll know this as a parent, that when you actually do the work to earn the money and then you buy the thing, like say an expensive water bottle, you appreciate it more, you take care of it more, you respect it more. So when my kid comes to me with a full list of all these things they want, a monitor, a gaming console, a gaming chair, headphones, like all these expensive things, I always say you either wait to your birthday or wait till Christmas, or you earn it somehow. Fair enough. Same thing with our phone. And I know I'm going to skip to this lesson too, but my oldest son is turning 13 this year, actually in a month. And one of the rules that we have in our household is that in order to get a cell phone, you have to be 12 years old and then you have to earn. So you have to be invited to earn a cell phone at the age of 12. So the turning 12 is the first thing. After that, there's a list of things that they need to do in order to earn it. For Max, it was watching 8 hours of YouTube videos based on certain content that he enjoys. Like he wants to become a better video editor. So in order to do that, we said, here's a couple people you can study, like maybe even Joe Rogan, because he interviews some people like Mr. Beast, and like really studying the people that are doing it well. So we queued up some videos and we had a list of questions for him to answer at the end of each video. He got 2 hours into it and he said, I don't like this. You know what? I don't want it that badly. But imagine we had just given it to him. Like, keep in mind, we're actually paying monthly for his cell phone number. So like it's still active, it's going. And he realized that he just didn't want it that bad because he didn't want to put in the work. Then one day, a couple months ago, I was at this really weird situation where I was solo parenting and Max had a soccer practice on the north end of the city and Noah had a soccer practice on the south side, and it was at the same time. And I was trying to figure out how to get them to and from their practices on time. So I gave Max his cell phone and I said, only use this if you need to reach me, but I'm going to contact you to let you know that I'm going to be late. Okay. So he said, awesome. Took the phone. And while he was waiting for me, I told him he can go on and he could chat with a buddy or play a game. And he did. And then when I picked him up, he sat in the car. He goes, you know what, Mama, I really actually enjoyed having my cell phone. It felt like freedom and safety. And I said, fair enough. And he goes, I want to think about this again. How can I earn this phone? So now he has a checklist of things he has to do. Yes, we can afford to buy him this phone. There's no doubt. It's just like a drop of a dime. But we're missing the point on teaching our kids what it's actually like to earn a phone that costs thousands of dollars. So that's one thing. The early entrepreneurship lessons is encouraging them to solve their own problems, encouraging them to come up with business ideas on how to make money. They did a lemonade stand last summer. I helped them. They were out there for like maybe an hour and they sold out and they made like $40 each. What we teach them too is how like just spot inefficiencies and opportunities in everything, from how an elevator is designed to how a coffee shop can make more money. Like all these things, when you walk into a coffee shop, and if it's not a chain, it's locally owned, sometimes they just overdo it with so many things you can buy, like 18 different coffees and 30 different sandwiches and 18,000 different types of cookies, to the point where you're like, how are you even making money off this? Because there's so much. We teach them these things. So with an entrepreneurial mind, we teach them how to look for opportunities and ways to improve something, because there's often business ideas in that. Don't just teach your kids to get good grades is one thing. You teach them to get good at creating value, because we don't believe in grades. And, matter of fact, we just got off the phone with the potential school that we're going to use curriculum for next year when we travel. And they believe in testing, They don't necessarily believe in grades, and especially as our education system really understands it, because the curriculum is created based on someone's birth year, not based on someone's comprehension. And I get it. The system is designed to teach the teacher to teach the average student. So you get a classroom of 30 kids and only maybe a third of them are actually easily teachable because they're the average. Then you have the kids that are bored because everything's too easy for them. And then you have the kids that aren't bored and they're frustrated, so they give up and they get poor grades. That's the problem with our system. And we know this. And we have the means to be able to look at opportunities outside of the four walls of the classroom. And I'm not disrespecting anybody here. We've had incredible teachers in our lives. But anyways, the point being is that we don't believe in grades being the thing that's going to dictate the success of their careers or as adults. Like growing up, I was told that I was dumb, lazy, I wouldn't do well in life because I wouldn't do well in school. Like, let's stop teaching our kids that because they're getting really great grades at school in like grade 5, top of the class, that means you're going to be a rocket scientist and make millions of dollars. No, I actually believe that the kids who have things easy when they're young, like school's easy or playing on the soccer team or the best player on the field, you know what happens to those kids is that they build this confidence of being the best player that they stop developing at the level of the kid who's the crappiest player but really wants to play. The crappiest player is the one that's going out there and trying harder and learning new skills and doing more reps to get to this point where now they become the better player. So I actually believe that kids that are the underdogs at a younger age, even in academics, in athletics, have the potential of being the best because they have to try harder. Failure is fuel, right? On this note of being one of the best on the soccer field versus one of the worst is like the worst is like the failure. They get these little hits of failure all the time and they just get used to it. Can you imagine being the best player on that field and everybody's saying, oh, Vaughn, you're the best at this. You're the best player on your team. You're the best player in the league. Then they build this ego. They become conceited. Then what happens when they fail? It is catastrophic to them because their identity is in the best. Now, when you have a kid who's not, and they're like really good at what they do, or maybe they're just like, they have little bits of failure all the time where they missed a goal or they accidentally let a forward get past them and then they end up scoring on them, all these things, is that these little bits of failure are so important because then they get used to the process, used to that feeling that they can sit with it for a second and then they get over it again. You also have to celebrate good failures. These are the ones that teach you the lessons. Some are harder than others, but every day, like the kids get home from school or camp, we ask them, what did you fail at today? Because we understand that appreciating failure is just as important as appreciating success. I don't want my kids to fear failure. I want them to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And the other thing is for them to value service, for them to value being of service, teaching them that everything that we do in life has to be for the greater good of our family, of our community, of humanity. Even like the little things, like, in our common shared bathroom here at the Innovation Center, there are people who just go in, they wash their hands, they throw their towel out, and maybe it gets into the garbage. And I'm pretty sure there's a woman on this floor who's very messy. Every single time I go in there, every single time I wash my hands, I wipe down the counter and I use that same piece of paper to pick up the little bits of paper on the floor and I give something just a quick polish. It takes me 5 seconds. And let me tell you, the room looks 100% better. It is the value of the service that I'm leaving the room a better place for other people. When my kids get into an elevator, they look around. Is anybody running to the elevator to come on? They hold the door open for them. Or they hold the door open for somebody else. They see, we teach them to look for opportunities to be of service to other people. At the end of the day, the only thing I want for my kids are to be healthy and happy and kind human beings. There needs to be a purpose in everything that they do because the ripple effect of doing excellent work, of being of service to others is It's like that butterfly effect. It eventually reaches other people in other parts of the world because of those small deeds. And, when it comes to dreams, we can dream big. Max wants to have a top YouTube channel, but dreams need deadlines. You need to put a date to the thing that you're working on. This podcast, the story I tell over and over again, I kept dreaming about doing it. Finally did it because my husband's like, what date are you launching this thing? Pink Skirt Project, the event. Kept dreaming about it. Finally, he said, well, what date are you going to do it? And I decided you need to teach your kids to put a deadline to those dreams. They need to work towards something that is going to happen on a given date. One of the last things is this. They need to have a long game mindset. This is tough because we're in a day and age where everything just comes so fast. Video games, DoorDash deliveries, everything. It's like quick hits of dopamine all the time. You can have your groceries delivered to your house within the hour. All this stuff is happening so much faster. But we need to know that, especially when it comes to finances, that there's a compound effect on saving money, on investing, on knowing that you could make a windfall or you could lose it all. But you have to teach delayed gratification, because in this instant gratifying world, people are getting addicted to the wrong things because it just keeps coming all the time. And we're seeking that next dopamine hit. It's like we have to have one now or else we're going to feel depressed. So delayed gratification could mean that, you can't have the cookie until after you do the thing. You can't play in your video games until you make your bed, do your own laundry, pack your own lunch. Like, we have a house manager at our house that works for Dan and I, not the boys. My boys still pack their own lunches for school. They do their own laundry. They clean their own bedrooms. They do all that stuff. They don't get paid for it because it's an expectation in our house. This teaches them life skills to be able to do it on their own, and also sets a great example for anybody they might date or be with in the future. Long game mindset for education. When you're trying to help a kid with their homework and maybe they're frustrated in like certain words or certain things in math and they're behind already, if you take extra time to teach them this one little hurdle, they'll eventually get to it's like the compound effect, right? They'll eventually be able to get past this at a much greater speed because they're getting past this part that takes the longest. With money, with saving, with investing, with friendships, things are a long game and it's a mindset. And finally, the last part is really about privilege. Acknowledging what we've built, acknowledging who we are, acknowledging our wealth, our influence, our affluence. We don't ignore it. We don't just sweep it under a rug. It is who we are. But also understanding the empathy that is involved, also in understanding the utter impact we can have because of it. And privilege isn't something to feel guilty about. It is something to be responsible with. I say the more influence somebody gets, the more responsibility they have, because there's a lot of innocent eyes looking up at you, watching you, thinking, gosh, whatever you do and say and whatever you recommend, I'm going to do. I'm going to eat it up. And so when you have a political stance or a health stance that is going to go against some people that might be wrong, it's your responsibility to fact check. When it comes to parenting and you're kind of on the fence about one style or sleep training or homeschooling or public schooling or signing them up for soccer or not, there's a responsibility you have to know that the decisions you make, your kids think is okay. And the privilege doesn't just come from having a lot of fancy things or wealth. There's a privilege in just feeling free. There's a privilege in being healthy. There's a privilege in having family and friends and a support network. And know that it's all fleeting too, that it can be gone in a second. But the more that you recognize that privilege and you actually have the empathy to understand that other people don't and to help them out, the more it stays with you. So all this to say, our parenting might not be appreciated by some. Some people think our kids play on their electronics too much or that they're rude, which honestly, my kids are not rude. People have opinions. But here's what I know, is at the end of the day, my kids love me. I love them back. They're healthy. We have our own challenges. And we're a community within our home. We trust each other, we respect each other, we love each other deeply, and that's the most important thing. So here is my question for you. I want you to choose one area in your life, whether it's money, work, or your kids' dreams, and have one intentional conversation with your kids this week. Like start small, start real, and start now. Because regardless of how old they are, if you have these little things that you're starting now, they'll appreciate it more. But try something new and look to people that you respect, whose marriage and parenting style you admire. Follow them and mimic some of the stuff that they're doing within your household. And if you have any questions, just follow me on Instagram, Renee_Warren. I will answer absolutely anything about how we parent, how we talk about money, how we're setting our kids up for their future. Until next time, ladies, peace out.